Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks so much for stopping by today. Today I'm creating several cards using the Hedgehog Hollow box for the month of July. This is a really cool kit, a little bit of a retro feel to it, kind of a 50s diner, some of these stamps remind me of. And so I'm going to go over really quickly the contents of a kit. So there is a stamp set which is called Roadside Attractions, and then you have that bigger stamp set which is called Atomic Age, and there are 3 stencils included in the box this month. I will be using that last one that I showed right there, and then you get a pack of paper, and that is Mercury metallic cardstock, and then you also get some kaleidoscope powder in Outrageous Orange, as well as a rainbow cleanup brush. And so that brush comes in super handy when you're working with the kaleidoscope powder. So I'm going to go ahead and place my stencil, and I've placed it, I consider it horizontally across the card instead of up and down, and that is because I wanted to be able to fit all of the kind of wallpaper stripes, I guess you could say, on my card panel, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I am using a Hammermill cardstock, and the color that I'm using is Lemongrass, and this is a Catherine Pooler ink. So I went ahead and I inked that up using my blending brush, and then I'm going to move it slightly so that is a little off center of those original images. And I'm not going to ink up my brush again. I just wanted a little bit of a shadow effect, which is very hard to tell. Kind of makes it look a little bit blurry, but I wanted a little bit of a shadow effect. And then as I was looking at the stamps and the stencils, there's several elements of the stamp set that match really well with some of the elements on the stencil. And so I went ahead and grabbed that first one, which says like a little starburst. And I am going to be using this really cool neon ink. It's called Roller Skates, and this is one of the Maker Forte Color Hive inks. And so I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that up. And then I'm going to continue to see what stamps match up with what portions of the stencil. And so I go ahead and match those up. And I am going to be using that same Roller Skates ink for all of these images that I'm stamping. And then I'm just going to keep grabbing the images and placing them where I think they look the best. So I've gone ahead and I've grabbed that circle stamp as well as the individual circle. And I'm also going to take some of the little kind of, I don't know what they're called, little asterisks almost. I'm not really sure what they're called. I'll add that around the card as well. And I'm using several of those little stamps along with the Roller Skates ink again, as well as the Lemongrass. And so I'm just using my stamping block for these just because they're smaller images. And it's kind of hard to mess up on them. So next I'm going to use the kaleidoscope powder. So I prepped my a piece of paper with my anti-static bag, and the stamp has a solid image and then an outline image. So I'm going to start with a solid image first, and I'm using the Color Hive, the clear embossing ink, and so I'm just going to ink up my stamp, and then I'm inking up the paper a little bit as well. And so it will look kind of messy, but I'm going to go ahead and get the kaleidoscope powder using the dual tip powder brush, and I'm just tapping that into the powder and then tapping off the excess. And then basically what I'm doing is pouncing that color onto that embossing ink, and I probably use a little bit too much, but a little bit does go a long way. And so to clean that off, I just take a paper towel and kind of wipe it off a little bit. And then to remove the excess kaleidoscope powder from my cardstock, I am using the rainbow cleanup brush, which is included in the July box. So I'm just going to wipe the excess off with that brush. And then to set the kaleidoscope powder, I am just using some hairspray to spray that image, and that will set the powder. And then I am using the outline stamp that coordinates with the solid stamp, and that is being inked up in some Versafine Black. And then I went ahead and fussy cut that out. To put the card together, I cut the stenciled panel down a little bit smaller than 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 and adhered that to a piece of white cardstock. The Celebrate sentiment is from the Roadside Attraction stamp set, which is included in the July box. I added a few different things. I added some Cosmic Shimmer Twinkles and then some Neon Liquid Pearls in the colors Lightning, Outrageous, and Shocking. And that will finish this first card off. I really love the bright neon colors. I think they're super pretty. For my next card, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a mixed media card, and I started out by taking some gold embossing powder and stamping up several of the images from the Atomic Age stamp set using the clear embossing ink, and then applying the gold embossing powder. And then I'm going to take the same stencil that I used for the previous card, and I'm using my favorite paste, which is the Finnabar paper paste. So I'm just applying that through the stencil in several different areas on my card. And I will be using a decent amount of water on this panel, and so I am using some watercolor cardstock for this. I didn't want to wait for the paste to dry, so I am taking my heat tool, and you'll notice that when I take my heat tool, the texture paste bubbles up, which I really actually love because it just gives it a little bit of extra texture. And then I'm taking the Roller Skates Reinker. So this is the same ink that I used on the first card to stamp up, but this time I'm using the Reinker, and I am applying that on my panel and then adding some water to distribute the ink, and then as well taking a paintbrush and moving that ink around a little bit. And then I will splatter, of course, and then I'm going to dry that panel up a little bit and add a little bit of more splatter using that excess ink on my surface. And then I'm taking these watercolors, and this one is a gold, and I am adding some more splatter in gold. And then the sentiment again is from the Roadside Attractions stamp set. It just says thank you, and that's gold embossed. And that will finish that card off. Here are the two that I created on the video. This third card, I created it off camera. I was kind of just experimenting a little bit, but it's basically just using the stencil and several colors of dye ink. And that is it for me today. I will be back towards the end of the month with another project or projects using the subscription box, so I hope you'll come and join me for that. Other than that, thank you so much for stopping by today. If you liked this video or found it informative, please go ahead and give a thumbs up. As always, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend with me, and I'll catch you next time.